Hi, everyone. We're so glad that you're with us in December. How it's already December, I don't know. We are here with our friends, the Lit Gals, Anna Cook, Marty Hoofer, and Morgan Mason is out on maternity leave, but we know that she's going to be listening in. We had this crazy idea when we were setting out thinking about our season, and we thought we talk a lot about STEM integration and how all worlds can collide in STEM education. And we thought, well, we love to read. The Lit Gals love to read. They're always talking books. What if we collided and we had them give us some book titles that we could read over the course of the last 4 to 6 weeks, and then come on the show, talk about books that they love, that are special to them, and really find ways where STEM and STEAM can intersect in this literacy world. So I think we have some fun ideas to talk through today. They chose 4 of their favorite books. And so I think we should just jump right in. Marty, talk to us a little, give us a little synopsis of Dragons Love Tacos, and then let's round robin some ideas as we hear a little bit about the story. I know most of us have read this book, to really see how this could come full circle when it comes to STEM integration.
Well, I do love picture books, but this is one I've never read. This is our recommendation from Morgan Mason. And this is a wildly popular book with her boys. So I think this was a no-brainer for her. So Dragons Love Tacos is exactly what it sounds like. There is a dragon. He loves tacos. He's going to have a party, and we are going to involve our friends and tacos at our party. So I don't want to steal a lot of thunder of how it goes, but I will say the dragon has opinions about how he likes his tacos. And I think that's all I'll say about that. So I'm excited to hear what you're going to do STEM related with this book, because I don't feel like it's one that ideas instantly pop in my head.
Well, what's so funny is I think 6 or 7 popped into my head right away. And because that's what I do on a regular basis. I take that novel that we're supposed to read in class with my primary friends, and then I think, okay, how can I build in STEM to relate to the story, right? So I was thinking several things, but one of my first go-tos was graphing and data collection. Because the dragon talks so much about how they're his favorite. And yes, he likes these other things too, but tacos are his most favorite. And then there's certain things about them, and that how he cannot have the salsa because it's too hot, which is so ironic for a fire-breathing dragon, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, we could collect data on our favorite foods, things that we enjoy in our classroom with all of our friends within our room, and then and kind of track that and then write about that as well. But then another thing that I thought about was something I've done with hot dogs before. What if we use Adobe and or Magic School Adobe, and then just take that AI generator and generate our ultimate taco, right? The one that we would want to have if we could create our own taco, and then write about it after that, adding those adjectives, adding those details. So we're colliding that writing piece plus that technology piece as well.
Love that. I would not have thought data. And I love the idea of the writing the descriptive details. That I love that.
You know, and I don't know because of obviously food allergies, but a lot of our classrooms are really diverse right now. And so maybe you could do a little bit about kind of around the world favorite foods and see if parents will bring in, ethnic foods or your family's favorite food, and we could try different things. And again, you could write about them. You could then do some research on the part of the world. And so I could see foods are always, I think, a really neat way to bring everybody together.
Mm-hmm. I had that too, as far as even cooking tacos within the room, and you can involve parents as well, come in, help us make tacos.
Mm-hmm. I want to jump into a primary class now and do all of these things. So what about make your own salsa, right?
Yeah.
like study different recipes and what would you like in a salt bowl? Maybe it's a taste testing. Another one, like part of it is fire and dragons breathing fire and they breathe fire and the tacos are too spicy. So what if you engineer a design for a fireproof packaging for tacos? I don't know, a story remix. Like kids love to hear stories and use that as a basis for a new story. Maybe it's not the dragon's point of view now, maybe it's the unicorn's point of view. I'm thinking like Pie Day was super huge in 4th grade. So how you could take different sizes of tortillas and the measurements there. I love this. This just gets like the creative juices flowing. Maybe like simple coding, like how do you code the dragon to not eat the spicy tacos? So I think the possibilities are kind of endless is what we're saying here. We could probably talk all day just about this one story. Do you guys have anything else to add, or should we pass it to Anna for Mrs. Spitzer's garden?
You hit some of the other ones that I had as well. So yes, I'm ready for this garden.
Okay. So I love this book. It's called Mrs. Spitzer's Garden. And the reason I love it so much is it talks not only about gardening, but there's an underlying message that Mrs. Spitzer takes care of her class.
Yes.
And she tends to the garden like she tends to her class. She helps some of the plants just like she helps in her class. It is just a lovely and a sweet, sweet book. But the reason I chose this was because I wanted to have a wildflower garden. And I went to one of the best wildflower seed company, if you will, and I got these seeds, and it's a great big hodgepodge mess. I'm just being honest. And some drowned it out the others, and some didn't even bloom. And I just thought, oh my gosh. So when I read this, I thought about my own wildflower garden, and I thought, oh, maybe the girls have got some ideas on this, especially when it comes to measurement and seeds and things like that, because obviously I did not do it correctly. Yeah. So here you go, girls.
Yeah, so obviously you could launch with your class that life cycle of plant growth, right? Those littles and talking about seeds and germination. So you could definitely really tie your science piece in. And then a lot of these seeds, the wildflower seeds are really neat because you can germinate them like in wet paper towel, and it'll let them see root growth, and you could measure that kind of stuff and learn about transplanting. And so that wildflowers are really, really neat for that. But I'm with you on the hodgepodge. It can get a little unruly in the outdoors, especially when we mix too many things. But that's where I hop to. What do you think, Dana?
Well, okay, I love this book so much. It was so sweet, like you said, but it is like the perfect gift to give that new teacher because it's saying every year her principal gives her a package of seeds, and then she gets her tools out in order to take care of her class, is basically like what you were saying, that underlying piece, even though it's related to flowers. It really talks a lot about how each flower is different and how they need their own special care. And there's lots of things that she has to give to them. So a couple things with that, I thought you could study different types of flowers, and each kid could then choose a flower that relates to them and their personality. And then they could then do a project on how that relates to them and why they're like this particular flower. But then also, along with Elaine's idea, I've done stop motion with that life cycle piece with even my first graders, where they make each part of that life cycle out of like clay or out of pieces of paper and that kind of thing. And then they have to film each piece as it transitions to the next part of the life cycle. And then they do a little video on that as a group. And we've done that before. Also, I thought about how you can bring in a gardener. You could bring in, like in our area, we have the Hendricks County Recycling District, and I have them come every year and they bring the soil for me. They bring seeds. I just have to recycle water bottles, and then they help my students plant and make their own small gardens with recycled materials. So there's also, I've had groups within our area that work on soils, and they've even dropped the soils off to me at school. And then my students study the different soils and test them. And they could also test different flower growth, like putting sunflowers in a special spot and play music for them. Or if they want certain ones, you know, in the sunshine, or certain ones, you know, hidden under their desk, which ones are going to grow more. And then you can, you know, figure out that in that data collection, kind of like fourth grade STEM projects, right, Krista?
Oh yeah, I love that. One of our favorites from the recycling district was like an earthworm investigation. They'll do so for each grade level. So it's really fun. I actually read this book with Thomas, my 7-year-old, and I said, okay, what are your STEM ideas? You're a STEM guy. You like STEM. Yeah. He's like, what I would love to do is now invent my own flower. I want to invent it, and I want to create it, and I want to talk about what makes it special. And he understood as a first grader, like the, you know, the symbolism in this book, which I wasn't sure he was going to, but he's like, it's just like us when we go into a new grade and we meet a new teacher. And I just thought that that was really sweet, like that he understood the underlying meaning, and he had some ideas. Art always comes to his head. So he's like, ooh, you know, thinking about patterns and petals and how you could make an art project out of this, or you could use things in nature to then bring in and create some art around. And then something else that I like to do was just teach kids about plants native to Indiana, right? And what it means to be native, what it means to be invasive. So I see like a whole lesson on native plants to our area and understanding like what flowers could you go plant right now that would be great for pollinators in Indiana. Obviously not in the dead of winter, but in the springtime. So I love it. Thanks for choosing this book. Do you guys have anything else to add before we move on to the next one?
Well, before we move to Zoe Washington, I just want to say one other thing that triggered some thoughts from what you said is also just maybe making connections to like how plants help animals, because you said pollinators, but maybe how plants help animals and how they're connected and how animals help the plants in return too.
That's an awesome idea.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Well, and I think something that this shows is that with picture books, they aren't just for elementary classrooms. Elaine has got ideas that you could pick up and use in a high-level secondary classroom. So I'm a huge proponent of all subject matters across all grades using picture books as part of the teaching that's going on. There's a lot of material there that kids love pictures regardless of their age. People love pictures. So I think it's just a great way to show that picture books aren't just for those elementary school classrooms.
Yeah, our facts teacher in the high school starts almost every class with a picture book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the kids love it. Like they're reading time. I think it's wonderful. All right, Marty, you want to tell us about Zoe Washington?
Yeah, when I picked this book from the Desk of Zoe Washington by Janae Marks, sorry, the copy I have has a very unfortunately placed UPC code. There we go. Elaine's is much better. This was a book I used in my classroom. It was a read aloud a couple of years. My students loved it. So that's why I chose it. But I'll be honest with you, I felt like maybe this was a hard one for STEM because in my head, there wasn't an obvious connection. A little bit about the book. Obviously, Zoe is the main character. She's a middle school age girl, and she's writing letters to her dad, who she does not really know, who is in prison. So it's heavy topics that students really dug into and enjoyed meeting Zoe. But so I chose it because my kids liked it. I'm anxious to hear what STEM connections you have, because I did not have any off the top of my head.
Well, I will say I had a lot.
Okay.
And I got to the point where I felt like, if you read this in that upper elementary, maybe 6th grade, 7th grade, that if you had a building where your teams across curriculum were work tight together, that this would be a really neat book to do a lot of things in different classes. So I got to the point where I thought, well, you know what I think I would maybe do is give the kids a choice board. Of kind of a topic within the book, and that maybe we could put together in like almost a book creator what we explored. So the first thing right off the bat was the cooking, the baking piece. Yeah. I can tell you this. I don't think kids any longer do much at home where they have to follow directions, because then we get them into lab and they can't follow directions. And so I always tell our young teachers, have your kids cook with you. Have your kids read with you. Play games with kids. Like, they don't know how to play board games. They don't know how to work puzzles. And so immediately I thought, oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure it was Carissa's class, but I can't remember if it was maybe the year after, that I think my son Sam baked pies with somebody. Was that you, Carissa? The cafeteria allowed him to go down and bake pies. That would be really cool. But I love the thing coming back to the cupcakes and cooking. Yeah. And I thought, even, because you got to be careful. There's some kids that just don't have the parental help. But maybe one of those choices on your choice board was going home and, cooking or baking something and building a recipe and pictures for the class. That was one of them that really popped out at me. The other one, I was telling Marty, the letter writing really made me think, and it ages me, about Dear Mr. Henshaw. And I don't think kids write letters anymore at all. And I think it was Carissa had her class, they had pen pals, right? And so I thought, oh my goodness, what a great way to have a pen pal. And I know you guys probably feel the same way. Like, when I was a kid, if I wrote my grandmother a letter, she always wrote me back. Yeah. Like, my grandmother was the greatest pen pal to everybody. But I thought, learning how to address an envelope, learning how to write with, the dear so-and-so. I mean, my kids have, they've lost this ability to write like that because they text everything and there's no punctuation. So I thought, oh my goodness, a writing sample. Then when you get deep in there into that, the part about her father and that he's been wrongfully accused, it really parallels with some of the stuff we do in science and how, things like DNA testing. There's a lot of innocent people that have gone to prison, and the Innocent Project, they talked about it, is real. And so we could do a research piece on that and take it into a science pathway. We could even, take it into a history type thing. And then the last piece, Marty, I hope you agree with this, like, totally a playlist, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Tied into it, something with the music and a playlist. And even if kids could pick a song, like talking to their parents, pick a song, and we could even do like a whole portfolio about ask your parents to pick a song from their parents are probably 90s, 2000s. And then we could research that artist, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. So I love bringing all of that into the classroom. So I'm going to toss it to Chris and see what you think.
Yeah, our brains were on the same. Funny, we have not spoken at all about this, but same thing. I'm like, a playlist. I even talked to Thomas and I was like, what about a playlist? And you kind of get to tell the story of why this represents you, right? Because
that'd be awesome.
Marcus, the dad, he had songs that were really special he wanted to share with his daughter, and they had meaning behind them. And Thomas was big on the baking thing. He's like, I want to invent my own recipe like she invented her own cupcakes. So yes, 100%. I then thought about the things you were doing Project Lead the Way with my fourth graders with DNA extraction, like the banana DNA extraction, talking about that, talking about fingerprints and forensics, like all of those things that would get kids so excited. And also like in a research. So maybe this is a choice on the choice board, like what makes a reliable resource when investigating something
That's
like
a great idea.
what's unreliable. You know, what could have happened differently in the story where Marcus may not have ended up in prison if, you know, there were a few things that probably could have happened. Someone could have corroborated his story, you know, it just kind of, the case was shut. So I got really excited because I started to think of some of the things you were already partnering with kids to do, Elaine. And it makes me want literally just to be back in the classroom to take a novel like this and have it something that kids will never forget. You know, we read to kids all the time, but when you compare these special projects together that bring in the real world, like how special is that? Do you have anything to add, Dana?
Well, I was just listening to what some of the things that you're saying, and I didn't know if maybe you could also relate it to some kind of breakout room or something like that, where they have to solve clues and use some of those things that they learn as far as DNA and fingerprinting.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Things of that nature. But then also, I was thinking that you could also use Book Creator to develop a cookbook with some of the things that they're putting together. So awesome.
And a cookbook or that recipe writing is such a technical writing skill that there are some standards that talk about that. And that's a hard thing to figure out how to do with kids. So yeah, that is a great idea. And I will say Janae Marks, one of her other books called A Soft Place to Land, I think it has recipes in the back of it, if I'm remembering that book correctly, because cooking plays a huge role in that story as well. So clearly this wasn't as hard as I thought it was. So amazing. The book I chose for high school level, and honestly, I think some high schoolers might enjoy Zoe Washington. It wouldn't be a hard read, but it's just a good story.
It is. It's well written.
Yes, so well written, and also well written is The Running Dream. It's a Snyder Family Book Award winner, which we've talked about on the Lit Gals show. That means it's a book that talks about inclusivity and people with different abilities. And this book is fantastic. I've never had a student read it who did not love it. And so The Running Dream, I'm not going to tell you anything that the back doesn't tell you. This is not a spoiler because it says it right here. But Jessica, the main character, she's a runner and she's in an accident and she loses her leg. She's a high school runner. And that's how she identifies herself, is as a runner. And then she loses her leg. And that's obviously tragic for her. And then what does she do with that afterwards? And it's one of my favorite books ever.
It is a stunning book, Marty. I mean, I've told Marty I started it and I didn't put it down till it was done. Like I couldn't get over how incredible this story was. And the themes in it, like this is the book. If you want to talk about empathy, this is your book. And you know, it's not just about the young lady losing her leg. There's themes in there. Families with no health insurance. There's themes in there, children, and the value we get from our students in the room that have disabilities and how including them is so important. Being a part of a team. And so my immediate empathy piece, Marty, went to, okay, so my classroom, if I was doing this now, I will say Project Lead the Way, in one of the 7th or 8th grade modules, as well as in the high school, we build prosthetics, right? And so you could obviously do building a prosthetic just out of your household items, but I would definitely, an empathy thing, I was thinking about how I would make it work if I read this book. And I think what I do is brown paper bags and maybe some masking tape, and the non-dominant hand gets covered and they have to go for a day without use of one hand. And I think that the empathy they would have of what it takes to go without, like, I mean, I just like a girl trying to do her hair with a bag over one hand, you know? And so I immediately went to empathy on it. I also you know, there's videos out there of people running, right? I would want to definitely show them using a prosthetic running leg. You know, I know that in the book at the time Pistorius hadn't gone to jail, obviously, but that was in that Olympics when he ran with his legs, right, with his blades. That was so unbelievable that he made it to that level. But I think even you could show video clips of Special Olympics. I don't know that the kids even know that exists.
Probably
but
not.
obviously, then we could do, you know, let's build a prototype of you know, of any kind of a limb. We could do the arm because that's what we're looking at. But those empathy things, let's look around the school. What have we done to help provide for every kid, right? Because it only takes that one kid that broke their leg and they're in the wheelchair that you go, oh boy, we don't have a good game plan here.
Right.
But it is truly an unbelievable book. It is beautifully written. I cried in the middle of it. I cried at the end of it. But then that last piece is about the value of a team. And I think in this time where especially our kids, and I agree, this could be read in the high school, the time where we're very isolated, how important it is that every kid is engaged in something, that they have somebody they can fall back on. Because Marty was right. This girl, she told people who she was. I'm a runner. That's what she was. She talks about doing it from the time she was a kid. And then to lose that one thing, had she not had her team around her, had not had her best friend there, like her family really couldn't get to her. There's the piece in there, Marty, I also thought that was very stunning, was the part about her taking the painkillers.
Yeah.
Right? That is real world, real woo in the middle of it. And she's just taking to dull the pain that she's not just physically having, but the anguish that she's living with. And we have so many kids that are going through so much, whether it's something like this with injury or illness or a sick parent or losing a parent. It's just, there's so many incredible themes in here on empathy. So I just really thought that is where I would run with it. But
I would, okay, to piggyback off what you're saying, the first thing I thought was empathy, and not only empathy, it's like, how do we deal with when something bad happens to someone else? Because I feel like we don't have the words either.
That's right.
So it's like teaching kids how to not only understand, but also what kind of things would we say to someone?
Yeah.
You know, the other part that I thought of right away was, and I may not say this correct, is having a doctor who does put on those prosthetics, right? And I even looked up the name of the doctor, but I know I would say it incorrectly. But having someone come in, and you've had that happen, Elaine, you invite some of your career friends in, you've had one come in and talk, and the kids could ask them questions and find more about that career, but also that would help aid to the understanding of the story. Too. Also studying parts of the leg. She talks a lot about her stump, her leg. I think that if we wanted to, even with, you know, upper grades, do study body parts, but some of our younger kids would dig deep into that as well. It's like, what are the functions of each part of that leg? How does it help us, like you do, as far as even making it out of Play-Doh, making it out of something in order to find out those different body parts and the use of them, because they don't know the exact terms for those and how they really give you that structure and that strength to hold even your body up, and how that is different. The other piece that I was thinking too is her and the running. Is like, she talks a lot about how it just makes her feel like she's flying in the wind through her hair. So you could do wind studies. You could do speed, like as far as what does, you know, 5 miles an hour look like? What does 10 miles an hour look like? What would it look like if you were running? Measuring the distance. Like we have a track here at our school. Like I could take my kids out to the track. We can measure different distances, try to run parts of those distances to try to have that feeling of what the main character had, and just using measurement and speed measurement and just diving into some of those things as well that relate to some of the parts in the book where she's trying to explain how it feels to her and why she
love that.
Yeah.
Right? Energy, right? How much energy it actually takes. I think I'm thinking about design and really like technological advances. Like I've seen robotic arms. There's so many different things out there. Come say hi. Look who just got home from school.
Hey, there's our reader
with all the ideas.
We were talking about all the ideas with these books. But those types of things too, like technology has come a long way, but there's been a need along the way, right? These things happen to people and we always don't have a solution, but it comes out of necessity, right? And how some of these inventors and these people behind a lot of these inventions, it was an important part of their life that they came up with something so that it could help them or someone they knew and other people. So they were all for diverse books. Lots of makes me want to, like I said, jump in a classroom. I'm going to put Thomas in a classroom tonight and have all kinds of STEM projects for him. What about Anna and Marty? What would you guys say? We kind of went all through all these. What would you guys add to any of this?
So the thing that really struck with me is right now we are collaborating. We're all together and we're collaborating. And we're talking about different things, and communicating, right? And I would just really stress that you shouldn't do this by yourself.
No.
Go to a friend, email one of you. I know that you'd be more than happy to help figure out some good STEM projects, but let's start collaborating more. Let's start communicating more with our friends and our colleagues in our school.
Oh, Anna, I have nothing to add to that because that's fantastic. And all you have to do is have a tiny little bit of an idea. Even it's hey, I read this book and I know there's got to be something in here. And then go find the person and then flesh out those ideas. You don't have to even start with the big idea. It grows as you talk with your colleagues. Anna, that is a fantastic point because that's what all this was a collaboration series that we happened to share live on the internet.
Well, and that's how this partnership just started, because we started with Keep Young Learning and trying to connect with other people. So then that way we could gain more ideas, more ways to collaborate. And we're so glad that because of this, we've got to connect with you guys. And we went to the experts on lit, and then we were able to share some ideas and find some new books in order for us to even gain some ideas to work in STEM. We are going to be at the Purdue Indiana STEM Conference on January 15th. If you are there, come find us. We would love to talk STEM with you. And then this is season 4. We have our list on the next slide. If you want to go back and look at any other previous live streams that we've had some excellent guests, and I've learned a great deal from all of them. So those are ways for you to get those PGP points if you want to, or just gain some ideas for your own classroom. This is a way to give us a little feedback. There's Thomas. He loves STEM, and he's given us so much ideas on this particular stream. So thanks, Thomas. And this is a way to reach out to us on YaySTEM. We love to collaborate, like we said, and this is one way to do it, or share your ideas with us. Thanks so much, ladies. We appreciate you so much, Marty and Anna, and your insight. Thanks, girls. And you know who we are. We're YaySTEM.